This is Brain Software Podcast, episode 102. Welcome, fellow greeting card aficionados. There's a storm blowing through your prize collection. It has no stamps, and it's carrying trance, without refund or remorse.
Are you into, electricity?
This is the Brain Software Podcast. We're washing the lens of reality. I want you to know that it's official, folks.
It is.
Merlin can bite my wand because I'm Chris Thompson, the co-host and the 2IC of the world's finest podcast, Just Ask Us.
Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how did you enjoy the play?
And now let's welcome to the captain's cabin, the silver-tongued adventurer of hypnotic states everywhere, the actual grandson of Dennis Bryce Morgan,
Wonderful chap,
and the virginal soldier of all things hypnosis, Mike Mandel.
Yes, Chris, wonderful to be back again, and we're now at 102. This is absolutely amazing how the time has flown.
It sure has, and this is going to be a really nice episode again, where we are going to cover all kinds of things. So let's do a little teaser on what this podcast is going to be about.
Right.
And then we'll dive in with, well, a bit of stuff we want to share and go straight to the good stuff.
Now, before you do the teaser, let's do a quick apology here.
Oh, yes.
We want to apologize to Richard Hill.
No, let's not do it now. Let's wait for it.
No, let's do it right now.
Okay.
We're apologizing because in podcast 101, I made the mistake of attributing his book to the co-author, Ernest Rossi, and the book is A Practitioner's Guide to Mirroring Hands, which is a phenomenal book. If you're a hypnotist, a coach, a therapist, check out that book. It is Richard Hill and Ernest Rossi, two amazing authors. And Richard, we apologize and we correct it.
And Richard's out of Australia, correct?
And he's become a friend online, talking to him in emails. He's checking out my mindscaping protocol right now, and we're hoping to see him whenever he's in Canada.
Yeah, and I would love to do an interview with him on the mirroring hands.
Let's make it happen.
technique. Definitely. Okay, so we apologize. We screwed up. We fixed it. We admit it, so it's okay.
It is.
And now we've made a friend out of it, which is great. All right, so here is podcast 102. We're going to talk about allergies and how to deal with them, or one model of how to deal with allergies.
Right, one that I think is extremely powerful. So if you have allergies, you can get a therapist to run this process with you. We're only telling you what we do. We're not telling you to do this. We're saying this is what we do with our students.
And you can also run the protocol on yourself, can you not?
Yes, you can, and you have the right to do that.
So we're going to spend enough time to explain exactly how this works in this episode. And then after we do that, we're going to dive into part 2 of 100 Days of Awesome.
Yeah.
We're going to continue. I think we're going to make this a theme over the next few weeks until the 100 Days of Awesome challenge is over.
Okay.
And we're going to use the podcast as a way to wrap up and discuss in more detail some of the more important points that we brought up in the videos that we've posted to Instagram.
Great idea, Chris. But let me ask you a question. What music are you listening to these days?
I'm listening to these early unreleased Zeppelin recordings. They're fantastic.
Oh, you mean Greta Van Fleet?
Yeah, exactly. So Mike introduced me to a new band called Greta Van Fleet. Greta, one T, right?
Yeah.
Van, V-A-N, Fleet, like a fleet of Teslas.
Yeah, like a fleet of Tesla. Did your sister, I know you bounced into her.
She's a Zeppelin fan. We sent her a Facebook message, a video message. I don't know if I've heard back from her yet. But Greta Van Fleet.
What a great band.
It sounds like
band. Early Zeppelin.
Robert Plant, Jimmy Page. It just sounds freaking awesome.
But they're not copying Zeppelin.
No.
They just have that sound. And from what I've read, Page and Plant completely respect what they're doing.
Absolutely. It sounds a lot like them in terms of the style, but it's obviously original lyrics, original music. It's really great stuff.
Brilliant stuff.
It's just nice. You can see the influence. It's like if you hear a great hypnotherapist doing a session.
You say he's copying Mike Mandel.
And you'll tell, oh, well, this guy's clearly been influenced by Erickson's work. Well, wonderful. That doesn't mean the person's trying to copy Erickson. Right. But we all have to have influences. And life is about modeling success. So
yes, and you're apparently modeling Ken Sweatman right now.
Thank you.
So let's get on to the next. Here, lead us on, buddy.
All right. So before we get on with the main topic, let's talk about we have James Tripp coming to Toronto.
It's gonna be fantastic.
So I think we mentioned this on podcast 101. We had literally just published a page saying we've got James coming to Toronto. In case you don't know who James Tripp is, well, obviously you're not with it. No, I'm kidding. A lot of people won't know who we are either. That's fine. James Tripp from hypnosiswithouttrance.com. You can find him on YouTube. You can find him at his website.
Brilliant trainer.
Fantastic guy. We mentioned on the last podcast that we're bringing him to Toronto September 22nd and 23rd. That's a Saturday, Sunday. And we'd already sold something like 3 spots to the seminar, workshop, really not seminar, workshop. And now it's beyond 10, just instantly, like people.
As soon as people heard that he's coming to Toronto. See, Chris and I have this great model. There's people like Carl Smith, Melissa Tears, who we brought to Toronto, and James Tripp will be the third. We're looking at bringing Steve Rame at some point as well. And what Chris and I do is when we find a great trainer
that we want to train with.
We bring him to Toronto, and then we just enjoy the class along with everyone else.
Exactly. So we hadn't even published details about what's really going to be happening that weekend, and people are just jumping at the opportunity simply because they know who James is.
Did you say opportunity?
Yeah, it's okay. My mistakes in the past, we're leaving it there. We're leaving it there. We won't even bother editing it
again.
Yeah. So
come and see James Tripp. It's going to be a great training. And the day before, you can do the 1-day intensive on graphology with me. And what do they get as a bonus if they take the graphology training?
Yeah, so because we only have 1 day to do a class that we can either run as a 1-day or 2-day class, we're doing a 1-day graphology class. You can find out the details at MikeMandelHypnosis.com/graphology. And you get the digital training included.
Which is several hours.
It's about 8 hours. It's basically one of the courses that we ran a couple of years ago. We filmed the entire thing and did a really thorough job of editing it. And so now that course, the weekend-long graphology training, is a free bonus when you come to the 1-day graphology training. So that's September 21st, the Friday. And we set it up that way so people who are coming into Toronto to see James can come and get additional training, additional bang for their travel buck, right? Because it's the same price to come to Toronto for 3 days or 2 days minus, 1 day of hotel or something. And Airbnb these days is so affordable that it just makes sense. If you're going to carve out 2 days out of your calendar,
one more day,
make 1 more day, come out for the graphology, get the graphology digital training as a bonus, and then stay to hang out with
really up
James.
your game working with clients because you'll know them inside out.
So the details, when you want to check out more on this, you can go to MikeMandelHypnosis.com/events. That shows you everything we're doing. And the specific page for the James Tripp class is MikeMandelHypnosis.com/James and /graphology for the handwriting stuff. So check that out. Now, on to today's topic. Let's talk about allergies.
Let's talk about allergies. The thing I love, Chris, is the NLP paradigm, or at least way of looking at things, that sees allergies as a phobia of the immune system.
I thought you were going to say seize allergies by the scrotum.
No, I wasn't, but I will be saying that next time it comes up because I really like the phrase. But allergies are perceived as a failure of the immune system. It's like a phobia, whereas a phobia is we are perceiving something that is innocuous as dangerous and terrifying. With an allergy, our immune system is perceiving something innocuous, this particular allergen, as dangerous and attacking it, which leads to histamine release.
Yes. And these are all unconscious. I think it's important to mention that these are unconscious responses, right?
Right. Nobody says, gee, I should be allergic to peanuts. That would be a good idea.
Yeah. You, as far as I know, there isn't anybody who can simply think, oh, I'm going to just turn on that immune response now, that inappropriate, that I'm going to think about dogs so that I can get an allergy to that. Whatever. It's not something we can consciously do, right?
No, definitely
Most people are not able to consciously change their heartbeat, consciously change their blood pressure, whatever. So, but the body
but getting to the unconscious, the body is able to change these. And the thing that's really interesting, I heard Tim Halburn say this, and it's a great point. He said, we get allergies in an instant. The body just decides in an instant that something is dangerous. They just happen very quickly.
Right.
Likewise, we can retrain them very quickly and get rid of them very quickly as well. And we are in no way telling people, run this process and then go and test it if it's something like a peanut allergy or a seafood allergy, shellfish, which can give you anaphylactic shock. We always refer people back to their allergist to have a patch test done again and be carefully exposed to the allergen to test. But having said all that, I'm a person who understands this. A couple of years ago, I developed an allergy to wasp stings, and I'd been stung many times with just the localized burning and pain, which it's an annoying thing. It doesn't leave a sting behind like a bee does. But a couple of years ago, I got stung that bell is ringing.
Yeah, I'm going to mute my computer.
It's the wasp bell. Yeah, mute it now.
I've done it.
Scary. I think it was a wasp answering the bell. But I got stung by a ground wasp, which are a particularly nasty variety. They're very small. It just got me on the hand. I could barely see it. And within 10 minutes, I felt weird. I went red all over. I started to get dizzy. I was going into anaphylactic shock.
Yeah, and you just barely made it to the hospital in time.
My wife drove me to the hospital.
Thankfully, you're still with us.
Well, thanks, buddy. Well, the hospital's only 10 minutes away, which is good. And I ran in, and there was somebody bleeding in the waiting room and somebody else with a broken arm. And I just ran in and said, I've been stung by a wasp, and I'm going into anaphylactic shock, and they rushed me in immediately. Actually, I said I'm having a systemic reaction, and they banged in IV and got Benadryl in me and all these things. Now, I don't want to go through that again. So I have run the allergy protocol on myself.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm hoping that if I get stung again, I have every reason to believe it'll just go back to being painful. But let's talk about the protocol.
Yeah, before we go into the exact protocol, though, I just want to make sure this is really clear for people, because I know a lot of those of you who are hypnotists will understand, or NLP practitioners.
Wasp is back.
You'll understand why I'm about to say. And those of you who are new to the topic, and welcome to the Brain Software Podcast. Welcome to awesomeness.
Yes.
We want you to have a sense of how this stuff works.
Right.
So as I was saying earlier, the response is an unconscious response, right? When you're having that immune reaction, the anaphylactic reaction, the allergic reaction, whatever it is, it's your body acting as if there's a pathogen when really it's an allergen. And it's an unconscious thing.
And really, it's innocuous. It's harmless.
Yeah. And it's something your unconscious system learned how to do, not conscious. Therefore, to undo it, to hit that undo button, you have to
get the unconscious involved again.
Right. The unconscious has to now learn something else.
And the question
install that as a replacement.
And install it as a replacement. Now, the question is, how is it possible to cause antibodies and macrophages and inflammatory response to change in an instant? I don't know. I don't know how red blood cells can hear a hypnotic command to form a matrix, a platelet matrix in a tooth socket and form a clot, but it happens. You can do this. It's been known for 100 years.
It's a metaphor, right? Obviously, red blood cells don't have ears. They don't actually hear, but they are getting the signal. As far as we know. Now, let's tease a little bit about what we've seen here, though, because there are some pretty cool things that have happened. In fact, I'm just thinking about a video that our friends Christine and Rob posted inside of our Facebook group for our MMHA members. We have a private group called the MMHA Engage group on Facebook.
For everybody who's in our online academy or is taking the live training in Toronto.
Yeah, and we encourage you to join. You can check it out at MikeMandelHypnosis.com. How do you get into it? Actually, it's / join -MMHA. I think it's something like that. Anyway, go to our website. You can find out what the MMHA page is. I'm not even speaking like I need more coffee.
Yeah, no idea. I said
MMHA is the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy. It's a monthly training that we provide. It's online, on demand, amazing access to our full hypnosis training library.
And back to Rob and Christine.
Point being, they posted a video in our group.
Now, the pre-frame here, we just got to say that in our live classes in Toronto, we do teach the allergy cure. And even though it's classically an NLP protocol, if you do any of these things within the constraints of a formalized trance of varying degrees, it always works even better, or unless it's already maximized. But the point is, hypnosis is an amplifier. So when we use these things, even though you will get a trance simply by running the process, if you do hypnosis first, get the person in a trance, it's even easier.
Right. So you'll get the trance by default because the person that you're working with, or you, if you're doing it on yourself, will be absorbed in the experience, vividly imagining what's going on.
I like the way you're gesturing with your hand towards the microphone. That's really good.
That will create a hypnotic trance automatically. But if you're a hypnotist and you're doing this with someone, induce trance anyway, formally, and then run this protocol.
So let's say the person, Rob and Christine.
We got to talk about what Rob did.
Bring closure on that, buddy.
Okay, so Rob was a student in our November class, I think, last year.
Yep.
And as we were having the class work on this that you had just demonstrated, everyone broke into groups and they ran this on each other. And Rob ran this on all these allergies that he had around nature. I don't know if he did it
grasses, plants, and he went after the main one, I think, which was lilacs were the main one.
Yeah, so he was horrendously allergic to lilacs. That purple lilac?
Not lilac.
Was it not lilac? Whatever. No. Okay, I'm not really a gardening and flower person, as you can tell. But this is the purple flower. That actually blooms around this time of year, right?
It does. It can be pink as well.
It's late May right now.
Yeah, nice and fragrant.
We have them in our yard.
His eyes would run, his nose would run, he'd tear up, his lungs would be congested, and his sinuses, he could hardly breathe. He said they were just his nemesis.
And so the video that they shot was actually them standing in front of this massive
in a lilac grove.
Lilac bush, yeah. And he takes the camera, and it's camera centered right on him, and he just leans his nose in towards the plant,
and then just
takes a
just zero response.
Huge breath in and says, "This used to meet." What did he say?
He said it was my nemesis.
His nemesis, yeah.
But here's the amazing thing: we didn't run the process on him. One of the other students did.
That's right.
That's how powerful the process is when it's done right. So let's tell you how it runs.
And the magic is because he's the one who did the work. Yeah. Someone else, whether it be
just
us
facilitated.
or the student running it on him, just facilitated the process.
Right.
Exactly.
And the process is this. You find a counterexample. So let's say he liked the smell of roses and had no bad effect to roses. That would be the counterexample.
And that's got to be his own choice. You don't suggest it to the other person.
Right. So he says roses, let's say. And I want to anchor that with a touch. So I'll touch his arm in a certain way, or his wrist, whatever, something I can replicate, and have him imagine he's taking deep breaths and smelling roses and how great they smell. And I'm anchoring that touch. And then we'll break state, and then I'll press the anchor again, and I'll see that nice breathing roses, it smells amazing state go over his face. So we've got that anchor now as a fallback position. Now I'll have him imagine there's a big piece of plexiglass covers the entire room from floor to ceiling, wall to wall, bulletproof, and it's
dividing the room in two.
And another Rob who looks exactly like him, dressed the same, everything is on the other side of that plexiglass, and you can increase the dissociation by saying way, way out there. So push him even further away so he's small.
Way on the other side of the room,
way
on the other side of the plexiglass.
Yeah. So now we have that other Rob breathing roses and enjoying the smell.
And he's totally fine,
and
right?
I'm holding the anchor with the person here, and they're breathing and smelling those roses again.
And by holding the anchor, you're gesturing with something with your hand. So it could be that specific touch on the shoulder or the nook of the wrist.
Just something you're replicating to anchor that state. So unlike B.F. Skinner's classical conditioning, an anchor set properly can go in one.
Right.
It doesn't have to be repeated. So now we'll get the roses are gone, and that other Rob is breathing lilacs. And as he does it, I will hold the anchor of the person looking through this imaginary glass at the other Rob and breathing just like they're breathing roses and watching him breathing the lilac. And I'm pacing all of this verbally and saying, and he feels great. He's fine with that, isn't he? Yes, he's just wonderful. It's just like breathing the roses. And now... and I'll check, I'm calibrating. This person's not collapsing into the bad thing at all.
Yeah, the actual Rob in the chair.
The real Rob. It's called real Rob and across the room Rob. So now, when that's done, and I've checked and everything's fine, and I'll say, and your unconscious mind can generalize this to all those other nasty plants that used to bother you. Now you feel fantastic. Mm-hmm. I'm supporting all this with hypnotic language. Now we wind that glass out of the way. And you're still feeling great, aren't you? And pull that other Rob inside you with everything he's learned. So the person physically reaches out, pulls him in, and I'll give this whole instruction for integrating, feeling better, and thank your unconscious mind for tuning your immune system now in a more appropriate way, and how great it feels to be free of that problem forever now. Something like that.
Exactly. And by the way, we shot a video on this same thing where you explained how this can be run on yourself. We will make sure we get that video into the show notes for this episode.
Okay, that's good.
If you're not watching this, if you're not listening to this on our website, make sure you go to MikeMandelHypnosis.com, click the podcast tab, find episode 102, and in the show notes will be the video.
In case you're listening to this on iTunes or something, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's great. The other thing I wanted to say, we just want to emphasize, if it's a dangerous allergy, this will work with a food sensitivity too, like dairy or whatever. But if it's something dangerous, like peanuts and shellfish can put people into anaphylactic shock, so can bees and wasps, We're not telling you to expose yourself to the allergen.
Don't go testing it.
Don't go testing it.
Stupidly.
Go to your allergist and be retested.
You don't want to find out it didn't work on you, or you didn't do it right, or whoever did it with you didn't do it right, didn't work, and you die. We don't want that.
Like we say always, ecology first. And typically what happens is when you go back to the allergist and they do the skin patch test and show there is zero allergy, and also for the other related things are zero now, you're responding appropriately, the allergist will assume that the original test was incorrect and that you didn't have it.
Exactly. Now, I have a personal story on this same thing too. And again, I don't know if running the so-called allergy cure on myself was what did it or if I just grew out of it. But for pretty much my entire life, I've been allergic to a lot of things. Not anaphylactic type allergies, just annoying, like dust and dust mites. But in this case, animals. And I love animals, but I could never have a dog or a cat or even a hamster. A hamster threw me into an asthmatic reaction.
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah. I was on drugs for asthma as a child. Drugs they don't even use anymore because apparently they're really bad for you.
Because they're made from hamsters.
Which explains a lot about me.
What a comic genius.
Yeah. So my kids, my wife, me, we'd all love to have a puppy, a dog in the house. And I was very, very worried. Well, I don't know, because I'm allergic to dogs. So I ran the NLP allergy cure on myself around dogs.
I remember this.
Then I scheduled an appointment with an allergist to have the test done. The little, the thing where they drop all the oil samples on you and then they poke you with a sharp needle of some sort.
I would have struck the man.
What's it called? It's a skin prick test or something?
A patch test.
Yeah. Okay. So I went to the allergist and I had this done. And to my amazement, the only animal that I am allergic to, and it's not even a really bad allergy by the looks of it, because they grade it on a scale of like 0 to 5 or something. Yeah. Anyway, rabbits showed up. I don't have any plans to get rabbits.
You might want to clear that too.
I like that rabbits jump around in my yard, but they don't come near me.
So you got nothing on the dog or the cat.
Nothing. Amazing. Zero. No dog. No cat. Not even. I think I might have been allergic at some point to horses, like everything, and nothing shows an allergy. None of these animals.
Brilliant. So you clearly ran it properly. That's
really interesting.
But be careful with this, guys. Again, we're just covering our own butts and saying be careful. We're just telling you a protocol we've used and seen people use with great results. But look after your own ecology. Be very careful when we're dealing with things like this.
And come September, we should have a puppy. So
that's cool. Wonderful. I hope it's not allergic to you.
Yeah. Okay. So
I'm on a roll, man.
So we really we want to encourage you to play around with this on something that's relatively safe to test out, like grass or flowers, things that would give you irritation.
Mother-in-law.
Try that. Try as an experiment. See how it goes.
Nice.
Okay, let us know. Report back. Now, before we shift gears to the discussion of our 100 Days of Awesome, let's go to our commercial break, Mike.
Tonight on the Dennis Bryce Morgan Network, a special program, an exciting episode of the Honey Hallmark Show.
Honey meets a man who she connected with through an online dating site, but things go horribly wrong. Imagine all the zany fun that develops when Honey gets arrested at the mall for asking the sales clerk for terrorist-specific greeting cards. It all gets even funnier when Honey forgets to pick up the school kids at the end of the day, and the school principal arranges a vacation for stressed-out Honey at Guantanamo Bay. Honey, Honey Hallmark, the girl who loves greeting cards. She's Honey, Honey Hallmark, the girl who loves greeting cards. She's got frizzy red hair and she drives a school bus, but she's not much different than the rest of us, 'cause she's Honey, Honey Hallmark, the girl who loves greeting cards.
Stop singing, finish your Hallmark.
Honey, Honey Hallmark, the girl who loves greeting cards. Sponsored by the Dennis Bryce Morgan Network
and the Shizju Corporation.
All right, and we're back. Thanks for attending to our commercial, Mike. And it is now a discussion of 100 Days of Awesome.
Buddy, I want to start with the 2-minute rule because I think this is such a good one.
I love it. But before we do, let's just make sure we recap very quickly. For those of you who are not paying attention, 100 Days of Awesome is our challenge to ourselves to post 100 Days of Videos on Instagram, and our challenge to you to take advantage of these little bits of information, these brain nuggets as we want to call them, to help you live an even more awesome life.
Because they can be game changers. And one of these is the 2-minute rule. And the 2-minute rule is a great way I get past procrastination when I don't want to do something. Like Chris loves exercising. He loves working out. The guy's super fit. I'm 65. I don't love it. I do it to stay in shape. And sometimes I just don't feel like doing a workout. So I immediately apply the 2-minute rule. It doesn't mean I'll do it in 2 minutes.
So let's say the moment is, I got to work out, but I don't really want to. Okay, therefore I will do the 2-minute rule, which is?
Instantly, I'll start getting ready and I'll say, I will commit to working out for just 2 minutes. That's it. Only 2 minutes to the second on the clock. And then what normally happens is I start to feel good in the workout. I'll throw in push-ups, kettlebell, and so on. And I wind up doing the whole thing. There's never been a time that I haven't done the whole thing and have stopped at 2 minutes. But because I have the right to stop at 2 minutes if I want, it's easy to get started.
And probably the reason this works is that you're not in the right ego state. When you don't want to do it, you're not in the ego state that is, all right, I'm going to get this workout done. I'm going to feel amazing. But as soon as you start doing it, everything that assumes that ego state causes that ego state, and then you feel like doing it and you finish your workout, right?
Yes, and that's exactly it, Chris. It's a different ego state thing. And I want to bring my second one to the table here. Criticism is just information.
Oh, this is a good one. Okay, go ahead.
So is the other one.
Talk about it.
A lot of people can't handle criticism. Stop criticizing me. A lot of people cannot handle criticism. They take it personally. It causes a kinesthetic response, a bad feeling. Just like some people cannot confront. Some people, when they're criticized, as it shows in the T's and the D's and the small letters, graphologically speaking, you can tell the people who are very sensitive to criticism by the loops in those letters. But the bottom line is, if you treat criticism purely as information with no emotional charge, it's liberating. So as soon as your detector starts to show you, this person's criticizing me or criticizing my work, instantly dissociate from it, say to yourself, that's interesting, and listen with interest and curiosity. Your negative emotion will disappear and you may learn something new.
And I like your use of an auditory anchor there. As soon as you fire off the phrase in your mind, that's interesting. So you say to yourself or you say it out loud, that's interesting. That triggers the reframe of
curiosity.
In fact, it's almost like, remember when we did a podcast on relationships and the levels of information or the levels of
argumentation?
So you have level 1, which is just information.
Data, nothing else.
Level 2, there's a bit of emotion, but nothing too heated.
Yeah.
And level 3 is when
full
it goes...
Full on adrenaline dump, everybody loses their mind.
It goes nuclear and you're like, So this takes it down to level 1. It's just data. It's just information. Or keeps it
at level 1. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a wonderful way to handle it. Now, I noticed you had notes here about the quality of reasons. Tell me this one.
Okay, so I did a video on the quality of the reasons you use to justify binary decisions in your life. And so let me give you an example. And again, there's a tendency for me to talk a lot about working out and exercise and things like that. But you can apply this to anything. I just use that example because I happen
to any kind of workout?
Yeah. Are you criticizing me for being overly focused on exercise? It could apply it to something as simple as that cooking class that somebody suggests that you take. That, your wife might say to you, hey, honey, interested in taking this cooking class with me? It'll be something fun and new and interesting. And you go, oh, I don't want to. You think about all the reasons why it's not going to fit into your calendar or something. What I want to challenge you to do is think about the quality of the reasons that go into the decisions that you make when it comes to binary things. Yes or no. I'm going to do this. I'm not going to do this.
Well, expand on that a bit, Chris. What do you mean the quality of reasons?
And so the quality of the reason might just be laziness. You're not being thorough in just really thinking about the benefits, and the excuses that you're making are poor. So you're being lazy and saying, well, I just don't feel I have time for this. Instead of really thinking about it and going, you know what, if I was to enjoy this, it might make a big difference to my life. It might add new culture. It might add new social network. It might add new skill, whatever it is. So if you're contemplating, well, let's take that cooking class together, and your reason is just, I don't really feel like I have time, then ask yourself, is that a good quality reason, or is it just me being lazy? And if you say,
okay, yeah, I get
this is just me being lazy, then automatically turn your no into a yes.
And that's interesting. So you're doing an internal check on the quality of your reason, whether it's a legitimate reason or a stupid reason. If it's a stupid one, you're dumping it and doing the opposite right away. And you're saying when this is a digital decision, it's black or white, this or that.
Yeah, I haven't really thought about applying it to non-binary things, but I suppose it just seems more obvious that if something is a yes or no, am I going to do this or not going to do this, then it's an easy way to apply it and go, is this a good quality reason for deciding no? And if not, make it a yes.
And immediately so.
Make it a yes and find out how it affects your life.
Excellent.
You might find, and that's why when I apply it to exercise, I don't feel like exercising today. Well, why is that? What's my reason for deciding to skip it? Well, because I'm thinking of all this work that I've got to do this afternoon. Okay, but that's this afternoon. We're talking about now. I don't really have a good reason. Therefore, it's a yes. Make it a hell yeah and do it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Check it out. We talked about that in the last podcast.
Now, what about this move forward thing?
Okay, well, let me just see what I've written here. Move forward, leave mistakes in the past. Okay, so yeah, this came out of a video that I had recorded for our 100 Days of Awesome Challenge. And when I went to review the video, which are only a minute long on Instagram, they're short, but I go to review the thing, there's no audio. I don't know why. I think my phone may have been paired by Bluetooth to my car, and somehow the audio got screwed up. And I thought, now I got to do this video all over again. It's okay. It made me change the topic to let's talk about mistakes, and let's talk about leaving them in the past. So if you make a mistake, is it something you're going to let yourself obsess over and screw up the rest of your day, the rest of your week, the rest of the event you're at, whatever it is? Or are you just going to let yourself let go of it and say, this is now in the past. It's not something I have to deal with anymore. Move on and enjoy the rest of whatever is coming next.
Nice. I like it a lot.
So that's it. I just think it's an important one. People obsess over the past. And
people obsess over all kinds of things,
Absolutely.
I've got my own OCD thing I've talked to you about.
Yes.
And I admit it, so it's okay. I have this OCD thing. It's very minor, so I refuse to treat it. When I'm under a lot of stress just from overload and overwhelm, which is something else I think you were going to talk about, then I can tell my OCD kicks in and I start pathologically straightening things.
Yeah.
And they're always rectangular objects. So like the iPad I'm sitting here looking at my notes on, I would have adjusted it like that to make it straight with the edge of the table. And I'll come into a room and it's someone else's house. And I know I'm doing it, and I know it is somehow giving me a sense of freedom or control when my life feels out of control.
Yeah, and he's demonstrating by straightening his iPad to make it parallel with the edge of the table, but it's not quite right.
But it's not affecting me now, so I don't care. If I look, it's way off now.
Okay, so then the last thing we wanted to talk about, we had 5 quick things here. So we've done the 2-minute rule. The criticism is just information. We've talked about moving to higher quality decisions when making binary decisions, have reasons that are good quality. We've talked about moving forward, leaving mistakes in the past. And the last one, 5th one that we want to talk about today.
Oh, the overwhelm versus baby steps.
Yeah, and actually, this kind of goes back to a podcast we did where we interviewed our friend Steve Rame.
Yep.
And he brought this up in Las Vegas when he did a presentation about
an excellent one too.
Yeah, and the presentation was all about therapists or people helpers, unconscious coaches, whatever you want to call yourself, not really doing a good job of taking care of themselves. And so he challenged people to think of, well, how can you introduce, whether it be self-hypnosis or meditation into your life, exercise. And so, again, this example of exercise comes into play. A lot of the times people will say, yeah, damn it, I want to get in good shape and I'm going to the gym. And then they get really excited and they get into this really excited ego state. And they go to the gym.
12 months worth of exercise in one day.
And they go and spend, say, 2 hours lifting weights and they are destroyed.
I'm noticing all your examples are about fitness.
I know. And you, again, apply this to anything. Maybe it's the gardening project that you're thinking about and you go nuts and you've got this amazing plan for your backyard and you've architected the pathway and the gardens and the sprinkler system and you go out and order all the equipment and you just
all the mulch,
massive quantities of stuff, but you don't actually have any experience doing this. And so all of a sudden you get all this stuff dropped off by Home Depot and you don't even know what to do with it. And now you're just firing yourself into this depressive state of overwhelm.
Yeah, I'm
right?
getting there. Yeah.
So don't let yourself get overwhelmed. Instead, think about baby steps. What can you do? If you've never put in an underground sprinkler system and you want to do that, and you want to do a new interlock patio, and you want to plant a garden and grow vegetables, and you've never done that either, and you want to
you're overwhelming me. Stop.
Pick one thing. Maybe hire help if you need to.
Yeah.
But pick one thing. And so if we're doing exercise, pick one thing you're going to do. Do it for a reasonably short period of time. Let yourself get acquainted with the routine.
Yeah.
And then come back for more.
Rather than taking the baby steps to work up to that level of being able to maintain it.
Rather than overwhelming yourself. And, if you're going to learn a new topic, are you going to go to Amazon? You could, I suppose. No real harm in ordering 6-7 books at a time. But are you going to go out and buy 3 video courses on a topic and order 10 books and sign up for 6 different live trainings? No. Do one thing at a time, do it well, and then come back for more if you still enjoy it.
Excellent.
So that's really the message I wanted to make sure we got across.
Now, interestingly, Chris, we do not have, and this is intentional on my part, we do not have an empowering question for today. Okay. So I'm going to just throw you in the deep end and just let your unconscious generate one right now.
Okay, so how can you find new and powerful ways of making decisions that will take your life forward? So how can you find new and powerful ways to make decisions based on what you've heard today to make your life even more awesome as you move forward?
Brilliant. That's a great one, Chris.
No planning went into that whatsoever.
That's really nice.
All right.
And I've got the Meta 5 for today.
Not the Meta 4, because it's a Meta 5.
It's even better. The Meta 5 is all about turmeric. And I noticed a very strange thing a little while ago. I noticed that turmeric is no longer turmeric, it's turmeric with an R. Yeah. And this did not sit right with me.
Always has been.
So I Googled it, and it's turmeric with an R. And I looked in the dictionary, and there is no turmeric as an alternate spelling. So my friend Ryan, our mutual friend Ryan, who's an excellent cook, I said, Ryan, what's that yellow spice used in Indian cooking? And he said, turmeric. I said, spell it. He said, Tumeric. I said, spelled again. He did. I said, not anymore. It's turmeric now. He said, shut up. Looked it up. Then Chris, our friend who's the cop, who's the amazing chef. I said the same thing. He could run his own restaurant. What's the spice? He said, turmeric. He spelled it, no R. I said, it's turmeric now in this reality, Mandela effect. He said, shut up. He said, you mean if I check in my drawer at home? I said, it will have an R now. He sent me a picture of it. He said, damn Mandela effect. It's turmeric now with an R. He said, there's no way it ever was. So finally, to get closure on this, our friend Lisa, who's an engineer, scientist, super smart woman, great cook, she was driving me home from architecture hypnosis in her enormous white Camaro, which is amazing. And I said, Lisa, what's that yellow spice used in Indian cooking? She said, turmeric. I said, say it again. She said, turmeric. I said, spell it. She said, Tumeric. I said, not in this reality. It's turmeric now with an R. She said, get lost. I had to show her in the Webster's dictionary in my iPhone. It's turmeric. And in this reality, it always was.
Thanks, everybody, for listening to Brain Software. This has been episode 102, all about allergies and how to make your life more awesome. 100 Days of Awesome Part 2. Make sure you check us out at MikeMandelHypnosis.com for our live events. Go to the events page, MikeMandelHypnosis.com/events, where you will also see that we've got a live training coming up with James Tripp here in Toronto. MikeMandelHypnosis.com / James, September 22nd, 23rd. Sign up for it. We're going to be there as students as well.
Hope to see you then. And in the meantime, thanks again. And good night.
Oh, I love this song.
Let's join in. Rock and roll, we built this city. We built this city on rock and roll.
Turn it up.
Bum, 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 bum,
this is a great song.
Dum, dum.
2 more bars. Say you don't know me or recognize my face. Say you don't care who goes to that kind of place. knee-deep in the hoopla, sinking in your fight.
This is awesome.
Too many runaways, eating up the night.
Bring it home.
Harmony plays the mamba. Listen to the radio. Don't you remember?
We built this city. We better do.
We built this city on rock and roll.
We built this. What collapse?
Oh, this is that's great. All right, folks.
Ecstasy.
Hope you enjoyed that.
Fantastic.
Hope you enjoyed that. We didn't rehearse that all day.